Hey, this is Adam Huxma from Projection Hub, and today I am going to walk you through this adult daycare projection. Now, this was a client that was looking to get a $650,000 SBA loan to help start an adult daycare. And this is the file that they sent us, and then we kind of completely revamped it, changed a lot of the numbers, but what I wanted to do today was just kind of show you some of the things that were really great about this model, and then some of the areas that were lacking, and some of the things that we ended up kind of changing and improving on. And just to give you an idea, and the hope here is that you kind of learn the financial modeling process yourself. And so as you're working on your own financial model, you can kind of take some of these tips. For an adult daycare, for child daycare center, or really just any financial model in general. So I'm going to walk through some of the things that stuck out to me right when I looked at this. So the first thing here was this scaled back sum here. I thought that was kind of interesting and not surprising. You know, basically every client always says these projections are conservative. Well, you know, as with 10 years of experience in SBA lending, you know, I've seen lots and lots of projections. I've never seen a set of projections where they say, now these are really aggressive projections. Everyone always says that they're conservative. So almost when you say scaled back some, it kind of just immediately kind of puts a strange taste in my mouth thinking about that. So I just call them your projections. You don't need to say that they're conservative. The next thing that I thought was actually quite helpful was these assumptions up here. He kind of goes through and says, what's the daily reimbursement rate for having an individual client, and then food reimbursement, and then there's a county subsidy as well in this example. And you know, I thought this was good, but here's the way I think this could really be improved, is that these numbers were not really built into the model. So if I spread this out, for example, just to kind of show you, what I would do is I'd put 7850 4.64, and then they added these up. Sorry, need to do sum, add those up, and then 21.5 days and $375. So I would put these in their own cell instead of within the text of these cells. The reason being is now I can use these assumptions in the rest of my model to build out equations. And so we'll kind of jump into that next. If you look at revenue here, you can see up here in the bar here, this is just a number that was typed in. It's not an equation. So as a lender looking at this, I'm thinking, is this actually, are these numbers actually right? How do they come up with 53,625? Well, it turns out that actually the math does work, because I went through and just said, okay, so this is number of clients on Medicaid. So if I did equals, we want 83.14 times 21.5 days times 30, which is the number of clients on Medicaid. And there you go, you get the 53,625. But now here's the cool thing. And by doing this as an equation, one, as a lender, I can see how you came up with your numbers. But also, let's say I wanted to go through here and say, oh, I don't think you're going to get 21 days a month. I think you're going to get 18 days. Well, I can see how that impacts your revenue, right? Pretty significantly, actually. So having these as separate assumptions, having this as an equation instead of just a number, is just good financial modeling. So the other thing that I noticed, this format is, it's a little strange, but it's effectively a 1 year cash flow sort of structure with funding sources. You've got your funding sources here, you've got your startup costs here, and then your operating expenses. So this is not really like standard financial statement structure. It's not a balance sheet. It's not really a cash flow statement. It's not really an income statement. It's kind of a mix of all of those, which is okay. I think it kind of does the job, but you can see here, this client was asking for a $650,000 loan from the bank. When you're asking for that level of money, and they're going to put in $100,000 of their own money, when you're working with that kind of number, having sophisticated, actual looking financial statements is probably worth the effort. One thing I did like, so here's on the startup expenses. I think this actually goes back to show that this client was actually being pretty conservative. They had built in a 10% overrun on the project cost. So $35,000 in just kind of extra money, which is great. I think it does show that they were being conservative. It also includes an SBA fee and a bank attorney fee, which again, based on my lending experience, it's always good to see that in the projections because it means you've actually thought about the fact that, yeah, there will be a $15,000 SBA fee on a loan of this size. And so building that into the projections kind of shows that you're really thinking about this. One thing I wanted to look at with you, though, is I'm going to make this smaller again so we can see the whole set of columns. So there are certain expenses that I would expect to scale or increase with the number of customers or clients that you have. So payroll would be a good example. You do see this kind of jump up here from 38 to 45. So maybe this is when they hire, another part-time person or something, or a couple more. And then it's just kind of flat, which seems a little bit strange to me because if I come back up here and I look at total number of clients, on month 1 we have 35 clients. Month 12 we have 147. So like a 4x increase in the number of clients, but we're saying that payroll is only going to go from 38,000 to 45. That seems maybe a little unrealistic. And really, I have no clear understanding. Again, there's no equations here, so I don't know how you're coming up with this number, why it's increasing. The same thing I wanted to point out with food. Food does look like it is increasing with the number of customers. And there's probably some equation here that our client kind of had went through that 6,500. So for 35 clients, so let's just say 6,500 divided by 35 clients. It's $186 per client. I'm wondering if maybe that's kind of what they did. They took $168 or $186 if I do the same thing. So we had 26,000 over here. So what if I did equals 2607.70 divided by the number of clients I have in this month, and it's 177. So it went from 186 per person to 177 per person. That actually probably makes sense. So again, these projections probably do make sense. But because I don't really understand how you're coming up with them as a lender, you're kind of missing how good maybe these actually are. that you could have done just a little bit better on explaining that. Another thing that I noticed that is always a concern, officer pay and marketing. So this was kind of strange to me that officer pay was included with marketing. So it kind of made it seem like I'm not going to tell you how much I'm actually paying, how much the officers are getting paid, because I'm combining it with my marketing category, which seemed a little bit strange. As you look at kind of the total bottom line here, so over the first year, $127,000 net profit. So $127,000 on $1.4 million in total revenue. That seems to make sense from a ratio perspective. The other thing I'd point out here, it's month 6, month 7 when you finally break even. Again, that also probably makes sense. If you were breaking even in month 1 or 2, I'd be surprised. So this makes some sense. I think these projections are probably pretty solid, but it really all depends on whether your revenue model is accurate. Are you really going to be able to get these customers? And I have very little confidence in that based on what I'm seeing here in the projections. It looks like, you just kind of pulled some numbers out of the air. Month 1, we'll have 30 customers. Month 2, we'll add 10, we'll add 10, we'll add 10. It doesn't really seem like that there's clarity of thought of how you actually go and get a customer and what it might cost. So what I would have done and what we usually recommend our clients to do, I'm going to come down here and just kind of show you what I would do. So, and not build it into the whole model, but what you want to do is build it based on an advertising or marketing budget. So let's just say I've got a marketing budget of $5,000, and then cost to acquire a customer. So what's it cost to acquire a new customer? And this is something you can Google. Try Googling how much does it cost to acquire a customer at a daycare, adult daycare or child daycare. If you can't find that, a thing I would do is how much does it cost to acquire in-home healthcare customer or some related industry, and you'll be able to find this. And so let's just say we find $200. It costs $200 to acquire a customer. And you're going to spend $5,000 a month. So then you've got number of new customers equals 5,000 divided by 200. So 25 new customers. Then the other thing you want to do is, so that's your new customers. Then you want to think about percent of customers that basically leave or stop coming to the daycare. So maybe, again, this could be something you might be able to Google, but let's just say you're going to lose 10% of your customers every month. And so in this example, your lost customers would be equal to this 25, your new customers, since it's our first month, 10%, so you're going to lose 2.5. And so what you're going to do, we'll spread this like across over the months, but really you're kind of building the model here to show, and hopefully this is based on some real data that you could Google, what's the cost to acquire a customer, and hopefully this retention rate is also based on some real data, so that when you come up here and when you just have these numbers that you're throwing out there, they're based on something. And that would really make this model kind of up the next level. So I think that's enough on this model. If you do have if you're looking to start a daycare or an adult daycare or child daycare, we do have a daycare center financial projection template that's really got a lot of the work already done for you, that has the full 3 financial statement model all integrated. So your cash flow, income statement, and balance sheet, what the bank is really going to expect to see, is all put together already for you. And I'm going to link to that in the comments section, or I'm sorry, the description section of the video, so you can check that template out. And again, if you have any questions about your particular projections, or want to send projections our way and we can take a look at them and give some feedback, would be happy to do that. All right, thank you very much.